Hello, dear friends. Many years ago, I taught an online class. It was my very first one. And I called it the 40-day should-free mind cleanse. And it was kind of based on, the 40 days in the desert. And there's a lot with 40 days that you need to go through in order to change a pattern. So I thought that was a great way to start out. So the 40-day should free mind cleanse, because I had certainly realized in my own life how much how much I thought I should do. I should do more. I should do this. I shouldn't do this. I should be different. There was all this bombardment of should. And, as a self-love mentor, it's not a very loving thing to do to yourself. So I really saw that, and I became aware that I wanted to bring that out as some clarity of to really help us all see how we're doing that. So I started creating that program, and it was actually based on something that I experienced when I was visiting my family in Denmark, where there was one of these, family bleeps, and there was an interaction that was kind of unpleasant. And I noticed that one of my parents was just putting this super guilt trip out, that I should and I thought, oh wow, what is this? Because I have luckily, blessedly, also always, no, not always, but for a very long time, been able to just be present here, so I could be with it instead of taking it personally and start arguing or everything. It's like, okay, felt what was coming up, and I just went into my bedroom and I said, okay, God, please show me, what is this out here mirroring back to me? What is it showing me that is still alive in me, that is not fully integrated? So I sat down and I meditated, and then I started feeling this immense amount of guilt. Guilt, because it was a guilt trip, obviously, the way it was said and the energy behind it. And I started feeling guilty and guilty. And then suddenly I was like, oh, guilt. I see, I still have this feeling of guilt inside of me. And that's being reflected back to me from out here. So that was a huge, huge insight to really see how I was still carrying the burden of guilt. And when you have a guilt thing going on, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, then there is a lot of should. I should be different. I should be more this. I should be less that. I should have done la 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 la. So it comes with a lot of shoulds. So I was working with this. I was doing a lot of tapping to move it out, and all this energy started moving through with tears and memories. Very powerful phase I went through. And out of that came like, okay, now I see what's going on, and now I can teach a class online and see if others resonate with that. So that's how the 40-day should free mind cleanse got born. And I still have it available on my website. If you want to, actually, in the description, there will be a link if you want to check that out. So here we are, right? We are still living under this should regime, which is what I called it. It really felt like I was in this regime, and there was this should, you should this, you should not that, you should. And if I didn't do the should, then I was this guilt. So it was kind of like, wow, this yucky feeling. And and the thing is, it keeps us in our head, right? Because a should comes from the mind. Remember the mind, the matrix, the fear, all that stuff. So shoulds is a thing coming from that dualistic mind where it wants to separate us. So you should be different than you are. You should act differently than you are. Like separate, separate. Very unkind, very harsh, very driven, right? You can probably feel it in yourself. if you have that too, I don't know if everybody has it, but I certainly did. And so I really worked with that and I created that program. So, yeah, if that's something you want to check out, you can check out that link below. But let's talk a little bit about this should, right? Because we know the term, you're should, you stop shoulding on yourself. We've heard that. But how many of us are actually taking that to heart? Oh, that was a perfect segue. How much take it of us take it to heart, this should thing, because that is where we need to go for our guidance, for our inspiration, for our actions, for our expression. Not from in here where it comes with your, you should. That will never, ever, ever make us feel happy, relaxed, at peace, fulfilled. It's an ongoing drive where it will never be good enough. There's always this guilt and shame and the drive to put that you should. Just see in yourself. Let's just take a breath here and notice if this is something that lives in you too. Do you often tell yourself that you should and you fill in the blanks? So if you do, it's really an area to explore, and it's like this 5 or 6 week online course that I created. It helps us take us here from the mind, the should, ooh, go down to the heart and start listening to the heart. And how often do I talk about that? Maybe every video, right? Because the heart is really the portal to the divine. This is the place where we connect with the field, where we can feel it and sense it and lean into it. And when we leave that and go here, we go into the should regime and a lot of other regimes, but today it's going to be about the should. So every time you tell yourself that you should be what different than what you are now, and you do it with an energy that is harsh, divisive, shaming, blaming, angry, it, it feels terrible, doesn't it? It feels awful. How many people do you think feel motivated if somebody said you should, you should? That's not motivating. It's like it makes us contract and shrink and want to go away and close our heart. And we may shoot ourselves to try harder and be better. And there's nothing wrong with trying harder and being better. We are in a constantly expanding universe. So it's not that shouldn't happen. It's a natural thing, but it does not come through force or shame or blame or finger pointing. It comes by going into our heart and listen to what we really want. When we go there, the motivation comes from joy and love and a good feeling, right? When you think about, yeah, I really want that. And I've talked about this. I have a few meditations about it also. You can check them out about how to get in touch with that longing and what you really want and how to receive that so that the energy can go out and the ripples go out and the field starts resonating with that. And then, of course, it starts manifesting in our lives because the resonance is different when you are in this flow state and saying yes to what you deeply long for, as opposed saying, you should. Can you feel the difference? There's like the ripples, where are they going to go? They go like, and they get stuck. And then you keep repeating and repeating and repeating because your frequency is stuck in this tension and this contraction of should. And so it doesn't come out in round ripples, it come out in this like static, static. And that cannot harmonize with the fulfillment of what you long for. Only your heart can and will. So shoulding, please do not should on yourself. And I mean that in a very practical way, which you can actually take on as a practice to start catching yourself when you say you should do something. Most of us do not do what we tell ourselves we should do. There is an automatic resistance to it. I know I have that. But honestly, I don't shoot myself. I just don't. If I make a mistake, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I want to try again. It comes from a very, very different place. But I've also taken this on as a practice. I started many years ago, and it works. It really works. It works because I say no to this should regime. I'm not interested. So I don't feed it. I don't fight it. I just don't feed it. There's a big difference. But I do feed this. I don't resist this anymore. I feed this. I listen to it. I nourish it. I communicate with it so that I come in alignment with it. And then the frequencies change, of course. This is the invitation. If you want to check this out, go to the link. Um, It's called the 40-day should free mind cleanse. I did change it, I think, a year or two later because somebody said that that's not a good title. It's not good SEO, when people look for things online. So I think it changed to heal your heart and cleanse your mind. I think that's what it was. Heal your mind, heal your heart and cleanse your mind. But that is basically also what it is. You're cleansing your mind from shoulds. It's not good. It's not a good diet. It's awful. It's constipating and it's just like makes you contract. And then you heal your heart and you do that by listening to it, or being loving to it, by honoring what's here. There's tears, they are allowed to flow. If there's joy, it's allowed to be expressed. If there's a longing, it's allowed to be listened to and welcomed. That's how we heal our heart. And we can cleanse the brain or the mind by simply not engaging what is not healthy for us. So if you're a shooter, if you've been shooting on yourself, here's an opportunity to see that there actually is a very, very different way of doing that. Okay, my friends, please reach out if you have any questions and check it out. Check out the link, and I will see you soon. Have a beautiful day.